step in the room, I set the vibe. Mic in my hand, I let it ride.
Welcome back to another episode of Speak Like the Boss podcast. I'm Anthony. This is Chase. How was your weekend? How was the trip?
It was good, man. It was all right. It rained a lot, so I didn't get to fish as much as I wanted to. We only went out once.
Mhm.
We caught a few, nothing crazy. Hung out at the beach, spent time with family. The food was good. The food was fantastic.
Food was good?
Yeah.
You're a seafood guy?
I love seafood, but
Okay.
I don't eat a lot of it if I'm not like right on top of the coast because I got
Not
sick.
as fresh.
Well, yeah, I got sick one time and
Yeah.
it just kind of turned me off. So
Okay.
I'll eat it if we're going to like, we're close enough, right? If we're going to a place that's just known for seafood and they just have like, you know, they're known for like having the best seafood around. Like I'm not going to skip out on it, but typically I don't eat seafood unless I'm back on the coast.
Gotcha.
So I ate my fill.
Okay.
It was nice. It was good.
Any nightlife activities?
No, just because most of the mornings we got up, we were planning on getting up early, trying to fish.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and most of the people that were there, which was kind of shocking because it's not how I really remember it as a kid. Most of the people that were there with family or with somebody else.
That's how I remember it.
Yeah,
I mean, I've never gone out there to meet people at nightlife or anything, but yeah, every time I go, it's always just families and restaurants and couples and, you know.
The local marina, like upstairs is a restaurant and then downstairs is like a bar area. And
Okay.
I mean, we were there one night on the weekend when it was, you know, a lot busier. Just going by and I just happened to look in and my mom and sister were buying shit. So I just walked around a bit.
Gotcha.
And I didn't see a lot of people that look single. So it shouldn't have shocked me, I guess, if I had thought about it. You know, it would have made sense. But yeah, there weren't a lot of
people outgoing and doing that kind of stuff. I mean,
there were. They're all in
just-
groups or couples.
That's what I was going to say. They don't travel there to go out by themselves unless
Right,
they're
yeah,
locals or something, right?
Yeah.
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 I gotcha.
But I mean, it was still a good time. It was. I slept a lot. Ate good food. Yeah.
It's good. That's what a vacation's supposed to be.
Yeah. Would have liked to fish more, but
Yeah.
you know, I can pretty much do that whenever. So just have to make more of a habit out of it again.
Gotcha. Well, while you were away, I obviously did the bonus episode of the show.
Yeah.
I created our Patreon.
Okay.
It's free to join right now. So if anybody would like to join it at the ground level for free, do so now. And I uploaded or am in the process of uploading the full episode of the bonus episode that I did to Patreon exclusively. So that will be where our bonus content goes. And then I will still do the clips everywhere else for enticing purposes, I guess, right?
Yeah.
To lure people in. So I think that's going to be the new pathway for us. I haven't decided on when we're going to start charging or anything for it. It would just be probably later on down the road once we get the following we're looking for and enough people know about it. But other than that, you know, simple, keeping things alive, keeping things going, trying to do more of those. May go out tonight. If I do, probably bring the portable mics, see what we can accomplish. Maybe get another bonus couple of clips or content out of it. I don't know. Yeah. What else you got this week? What do you want to talk about?
So I was in not an ideal spot when I came across the information and I tried to go back to it later, couldn't find it. So I can't cite it. But there's new data that supports that women are now swiping on less than 5% of men on dating apps.
Less than 5%.
Less than 5%. It was around, I want to say it was around 3%.
Wow.
On average, which is kind of crazy. Not that 10% isn't crazy, but and I was talking about this. I when I got back that night, I hung out with a buddy because I had to bring him something. He had something of mine as well.
Yeah.
And sitting there talking to his fiance and about stuff, and dating came up, and it was so funny. She kind of laughed at a lot of my takes, but I'm like, and then she tried to be like, I'm gonna hold your hand while I talk about this. I'm like, look, you're preaching to the choir. I know, okay, I know what's going on.
I've heard it all.
I've heard it all. I've been here. I've experienced it.
I actually do a show about it every week.
Yeah, I didn't bring that up, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much kind of how the conversation went. And she had a screenshot. She took a screenshot before she started dating my buddy. Her friend had convinced her to join Tinder. She was just on Tinder, nothing else.
Okay.
And she like signed up, went to bed, woke up, and she had like 2,500 matches.
Sounds about right.
Less than 24 hours. No shit.
Yeah.
She had like over 2,500 matches. I knew it was crazy. That was a little shocking. I couldn't believe it was that crazy.
It's crazy. Guys are extremely thirsty, and we know what the strategy is. Swipe on everything a lot of the time, right?
Well, if you
have
for
to
it,
pay for them, which I'm sure a lot of these guys do. So if she's a pretty girl, forget it. Or were the pictures provocative?
Respectful, I don't know. Respectfully, we'll see. She took it down. She said she took it down right after that because, like, she apparently the anxiety of having to deal with it just was enough for her.
They scared her away.
Yeah. She's a great person. She really is.
The fact that anxiety just keeps you from being on dating apps because you're getting too much attention.
Oh my God, must be rough. Huh?
Yeah, it's a difficult world we live in with these first world problems.
No, so she's a great person. Like personality, she does a lot for him. She cares a lot. She shows it. Respectfully speaking, I would say she's like a 5 at best.
Okay.
5 at best.
Okay. Nothing crazy. So maybe the picture was just right.
Maybe.
She took some angles.
Well, I mean, that just goes to show you don't have to be stunning to.
No, the average girl gets plenty of attention. Yeah, like we've always said.
It just reiterates everything we talk about how, and then she was talking to us and I was like, yeah, we wouldn't see that in 10 years.
No.
And so she was like, oh, I can't believe that. And this, that. So we started talking about, I'm like, look, I've been on dating apps since February. I'm like, I've probably had 20 matches and literally all of them went nowhere.
That's insane.
All of them went nowhere.
That's crazy.
And she's like, well, maybe you're not saying. I'm like, no, I know how to talk to you. I'm like, I'm sitting here. I've got you cutting up and busting a gut the entire time. Like, I know how to talk, right? I know how to talk to people. Like,
yeah.
And I can, sure, maybe I said something that turned off a couple of them or a few of them, but like most of them, it's just like a dead conversation. And I showed her a couple.
So I seen our mutual friend's dating profile. Okay. Some of the comments this weekend. Speaking of which, he has a list that he had to scroll through like this of girls that blocked him. Okay, because his opening line is pretty much like something to do with sex.
I mean, hey, if it works, it works.
And he showed me all of the ones that it's worked on.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, when or how soon or when are you coming over?
He's also taller than me. He's exotic looking.
Yeah, he's got some things. He checks the boxes of, let's say, one night stand for some women.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if they're trying to get their freak on and they want to try something new.
Yeah.
He might check that box.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ethnicity and all the sorts of unusual and right, so he's got that going for him. Yeah, for sure. So, but that's interesting. It just, I mean, everything that happens in life kind of reinforces what we talk about, whether people like hearing about it or not, which is a whole nother thing we can get into about our content being dismantled this week and all weekend.
Yeah, good segue, man. I finally on vacation. I was on vacation. Like I wasn't checking my phone a whole lot, but finally I got to where I'm like, I'm not even looking at this anymore because it's just so exhausting. This one chick on our video about talking about how women, the majority of things they do are going to be to garner attention from men, generally speaking, right? The overwhelming majority of the time. Which apparently we have to specify to unintelligent people that we're talking in generalities when that's literally what you do when you talk about social standards and society as a whole. But unintelligent people can't figure that out.
Yeah, that's lost on so many people. Yeah. It's incredible.
So we went back and forth for a while, and I was just, trying to help her follow the logic. Like, okay, so they do it because it makes them feel good. Why does it make them feel good?
Yeah.
Because their friends might compliment them. Okay, their friends tell them they look good. How do their friends know they look good? Right?
By looking.
Well,
observing.
Not just right.
Or comparing.
By observing and comparing what?
Yeah, to the internet, to other people, to themselves.
And how men react to it.
Sure.
Right?
Of course.
So and not only that, but like you're not defeating my argument because they're still garnering attention, right?
What was their counter argument?
Well, that
okay.
It literally it was either gaslighting, or it was lesbians, or it was just yeah, it's not all women do that. So like they started.
That's fine. We don't. I hate that argument.
Yeah,
that's not even an argument.
It's not.
And I wish people wouldn't use that in comment section, because now I got to go out of my way to waste a whole response telling you that that's not the argument.
I'm telling you, it got exhausting. I'm like, God damn! Like this girl, she's got a man, and she's not unattractive. That dude, he's either spineless and doesn't say a word, or he's pretty miserable. I mean, if he has to deal with that on a semi-consistent basis, oh my God, I would hate to have to try to argue and fight with somebody like that I'm dating. She tried to bring up lesbians. Okay. I'm like, okay, so we're talking about the majority of people, okay? Mm-hmm. In this case, the overwhelming majority, because it's like what, 10% of the U.S. population is actually gay. Sure. Or lesbian, whatever.
Yeah, right. Pretty low. Yeah, well, it's not the majority, regardless of what it is.
Far from the majority, right? Yeah. So you're already getting off. You're already moving the goalposts,
right?
And then she kept trying to.
I would like to preface going forward before sorry for interrupting you.
No, it's fine.
Anything that we talk about in this show is in a heterosexual relationship dynamic.
Yeah, because we're not gay.
No, it doesn't. We're talking about the majority of people in a normal man and wife relationship. We're not talking about all the other stuff that's going on, all the Transformers and etc. If you are prescribed to that lifestyle, I personally don't have any experience in that lifestyle, and I'm never going to talk about it like I do. It's just that also goes into another point of anything that I discuss, whether you agree with me or not, is well researched.
Yeah.
I'm not going to come up with a point or an opinion unless I've done my own research and come up with valid backing of why I'm saying something.
Well, and a lot of it's been reinforced by experience too.
That too.
Which is something
I do like, not using the anecdotal side of things, right?
But it confirms what we're...
Yeah, it confirms the research. Yeah. If you have research and anecdotal, then it's like, okay, well, 1 + 2 is, 3 here.
So she tried to gaslight me a lot. And try to say, like, you're just, you essentially just saying that, like, I'm just hateful and this, that, and the other. I'm like, look, you can try to gaslight me all you want. It's like it doesn't defeat the logic of what I'm saying here. Like, just because you don't like it. Like,
yeah. Right.
And then she tried to say that I was gaslighting her by saying that what she is saying is just simply incorrect, which it kind of is incorrect because we're talking about the majority of people as a whole. And she couldn't defeat the circular logic that I was giving her, right? Just you could follow the steps. Like, okay, they may do it for themselves, but why does it make them feel good? Because they know they will get attention, right? What kind of attention are they getting? How do they know they look good? It's because people say that they look good. And if it's not men, they know that men will find that attractive, right? There's just... It's pretty hard to rebut that.
Yeah.
And so she tried to gaslight me even more. She tried to gaslight me even more, saying that, well, maybe if, your experiences with women are so bad, it's because you speak so negatively about women. I'm like, I'm not speaking negatively about, like, first off.
I don't start the date like, hey, you suck.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why.
First off.
What the hell?
I love women. Right? We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't.
That's true.
2.
That's true.
She brought up about how, like, I probably just don't respect most women, and the way I talk to them is disrespect, like, bad or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so I have no issues with good women, but let's face it, most women these days, I had to say most, like I re-emphasized it, aren't worthy of respect.
Right.
And it's because they can't appeal to logic. They're in some cases narcissistic, but they just it's just annoying. There was an episode of Fresh and Fit where they had, you know, the normal guys and the girls.
Yeah.
And all the girls just got up and left unanimously. And Myron's
Seen
like,
that one.
"Do you hear how quiet it is in here now?"
Yeah. So much
like,
better.
It's just that kind of thing. Like, it's just annoying to have to deal with, and that's just the best way to sum it up. And again, we're not talking about all women, but we're talking about a good chunk of women, right?
So every time, I'll give you another anecdotal experience to emphasize what we always talk about. I know it's not always the best answer, but so the last time we went out, one of our friends, the one that was here in the last episode, he danced with a young lady for like 3 or 4 hours. Like they were together the whole time.
That's crazy.
And she was a good looking lady. Not, you know, pretty good. I'd say like a good 7.
Really?
Yeah.
That's shocking.
Yeah. Good looking lady. She, after exchanging numbers, etc., comes up to me and the other friend and, you know, says goodnight to us the whole time. I was like, oh, she's pretty sweet. It was nice of her. She didn't have to do that because he was running off dancing with somebody else already. Because she said she was going to leave earlier and then ended up not leaving. So she didn't take it the wrong way or anything or whatever. I don't know. But he ends up talking to her throughout the week, texting, yada, yada, the whole thing. She starts talking about how 2 things. One, how she doesn't want to go on like a hike or do any of this stuff. It has to be like a dinner or a food thing that's $100 or more. And then the second part was she was talking about her past experiences.
Oh, God.
She was dating a veteran who was making like $9,000 a month between a business and money from the government because he was disabled.
Yeah, disability. Pays good if you're
so
actually
disabled vet. And after it didn't work out, she was proud of saying how she drained him dry the whole time and took all of that money. So this said person was now passed on to the other friend. He got her number, the whole thing. And now he's trying to talk to her because he's trying to now do her dirty, basically, and give her some paybacks. So it's a mess. I'm an observer in this whole situation, but it does go to show my point of there are very toxic women out there that ruin the market for everybody, because once a man has to deal with somebody like that, they end up not wanting to take anybody serious, or they're never going to know your true intentions. And it kind of sullies the water for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And now you have another guy who's trying to get back at her. You know what I mean? But and the only way he's going to do that is by trying to get in bed with her and then blocking her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's stupid anyway. Like, why would you waste your time
it's
and
such
effort?
It's such a headache. So it's all one of these things where it's a chain reaction of events, and goes back to what I've been saying about the chicken and the egg kind of situation. Like, who does who dirty first, right? And it's just going to be an endless ongoing cycle. So yeah, that's what I got about that.
Yeah, that just blows my. I mean, it just talks to how delusional people can be, right? Women specifically.
And she's 30, and she has this mindset.
Not surprising.
That's
not shocked.
It's interesting
on that one at all.
No, yeah. So.
I know, I understand why, but it's still crazy to think about, right? Like, clearly, no one has told her how psychotic she sounds. No one has told her how bad
the first gentleman
wrong this
did.
Is. Well, he's the first one.
He's probably the first one, and she was completely taken aback by it. And that's why they don't talk anymore and this and that.
Stupid.
They ended up getting another female to call her at night, pretending to be first gentleman said girlfriend and riling her up. Like, why are you talking about man? It's been a whole weekend.
That's petty
bullshit. Immature.
Why? Like,
yeah, I'm gonna say first guy has a streak of petty immature nature for sure.
I know.
Yes, so it is what it is. Hopefully he grows out of that someday, but he definitely has that. I don't know if that's a cultural thing or just a him thing. But
I got a joke I want to make, but I'll tell you after.
Okay, don't get us banned again. So that goes into kind of the last part of what we were just kind of talking about is this week, because of those comments, everything that I have uploaded this week has gone nowhere. It has gotten zero traction, like we've been shadow banned.
All those comments, they're gone.
Oh, and they're gone.
No notice. I just checked today when I got here.
And I've never seen them. So the comments are being deleted automatically by said websites.
Something, yeah.
TikTok, YouTube, whoever's got it.
Like, literally nothing I said was wrong. I'm just like, no, you're gaslighting me. And that's not going to change my opinion. Here is the logic. Yeah. Literally, the only thing that I said that could be potentially wrong is I said, man, I feel sorry for your man. You are a headache at one point. That's it.
That's it.
But what's bad about that? Apparently,
everything. You can't say you and then a derogatory term of any kind on a lot of these platforms.
Okay, well, that's no different than someone calling me bald. Which I don't care. It doesn't bother me, but like it's literally like the same thing.
That's just the I don't know. That's the guidelines that I've been given after I've gotten my strikes. I went through and tried to appeal all of them. I got a couple back, but like 2 of them they wouldn't do, and it's just I'm like, this is super just biased. Clearly, I almost don't want to respond to people anymore because of it, because I don't want things to happen to the channel.
I know that people think that Trump is akin to like Hitler or Mussolini, somebody like that. But honestly, I would love it if they would just put a ban on some level of social media, because I genuinely think that social media has led to the degradation of society.
That's interesting, because that will go into our war talk at the end of this. But side note before we get into it is, at least on a couple of lists that I have seen, America ranks pretty low in the list of countries that actually have free speech. It's like 6 and beyond. And it's because of all the platforms that we have that don't allow free speech. Yeah, they straight up don't allow free speech. And the legal loophole is that they're a private company. Well, actually, they're not. A lot of these companies are publicly traded, which means they should be they governed a little bit better. They should be substitute to the consequences of not abiding those laws. The Constitution and the laws. Yeah. But they clearly get away with it because there are large donations. Donations, and a lot of politicians are drinking the Kool-Aid anyway. So that's who. Well, that goes into a lot of. How much more do you have? How many topics? That's it. Okay, so you want to jump into this craziness? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, this is going to be a lot. So I'm going to give you just some generic facts first, I think. We'll start with that and see what you know and don't know already. And I'm going to use terms because I'm going to try to not use certain words. So the Jays are obviously... You can say that word. That's not like... if you're not going... Then it's sketchy because they own these platforms. And I'm about to talk a little bad about them. So they obviously own about 98% of our media infrastructures type stuff. So television networks, etc. Right? People thought Kanye was crazy saying that. It's true. No, if every time you look it up, whether it's JTube is what I'm going to start calling it. Their CEO is one of them. One of them. One of them boys. It just keeps going on and on and on. Okay. So that's the first thing. If you understand that first, you can start to follow the path of why we're in the boat that we're in. Okay. Second thing, if we're jumping into Israel and Iran war here, what do you know about it so far? Let's start there. Anything at all? Have you watched any news, any media outlets or anything? Have you gotten a perspective?
I've seen a little bit, but I have tried to mostly ignore it just because I know it's a pointless conflict. Probably started over some kind of religious zealotry, and it becomes, well, they started it, but
Yeah.
you know, both sides are pretty guilty when it's all said and done.
That's the start of it, right? So this has started years and years ago. This actually started even before we were born.
Yeah, like hundreds of years ago.
Right. At least 50 years ago and so on. So there's a couple of things that happened throughout the periodic advancements of this, but why we're in war now, or we're not specifically, but Israel and Iran, why they're shooting missiles at each other at this point, right, is Israel claimed that they were days away from having a nuke Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they said that they're super anti-America, anti-Israel, et cetera, et cetera.
That's right. And they sent an inspector in and they found nuclear
facilities.
Yeah, which they weren't supposed to have. And that made Iran just like launch, right?
No. So, and that's the perspective. Again, our media, whether you're left wing or right wing, is all lying to you at this point.
Okay.
And I have gone separate to learn the truth at this point, because Fox News is completely trashed at this point. Like, and this comes from a guy who voted for Trump.
Yeah.
They think Trump is compromised. That's the problem. That's a huge problem in this whole thing.
That's just that's hard
this
to
whole
believe.
thing is bad.
That's hard to believe, right?
And I'll give
the
you
guy who just has built his
on America First, freedom, this, that, and the other thing. The proof
can't be bought, won't compromise.
The proof says otherwise, and that's the problem. Okay,
let's get into it.
So, in 1985, there was a gentleman who exposed Israel. That's where we have to start. He went undercover and took photos of Israel's nuclear program. They were not supposed to have. They were illegally building this nuclear program, okay? Over 50-something photos. This man went to Italy, started partying after uploading these photos and doing this thing. Israel picked him up in Italy, brought him back to Israel to prosecute him and throw him in prison forever. Okay? These photos proved that they had it, but nobody did anything about it because they're allied with NATO. Okay? Skipping ahead to more present times, in, I want to say it was 2018, when Trump was in office the first time, because he came into office and was just like firing on all cylinders, there was a bill already in place from Obama to try and get Iran to sign away the nuclear rights. They were going to do like a peace treaty type of thing. As soon as Trump got into office, he ripped that shit up and said, I'm starting over, I'm doing my own thing. That stopped negotiations until more recently, okay? Fast forward ahead, Israel starts attacking Gaza, right? And that whole West Bank and all that kind of stuff. Israel has ballistic missiles that are capable of precise strikes. These missiles shoot into space and have an exact mathematical trajectory of where they're going to come down. So they know where they're going to come down long before they hit, okay? The problem is they're not caring who they hit. And out of all the people that they've now killed in the last 3 to 4 years of attacking Gaza and supposedly going after a terrorist organization, they've killed 70% women and children.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Okay. Yeah. It's a genocide at this point.
Yeah, it's a genocide. Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, we already know that Israel is in the wrong because they're already doing that. Okay.
Oh, but they're part of NATO.
And because of all of the Zionists that are in our American government and run politics and media and everything else, they also have a strong backing to Israel. Mm-hmm. So they're going to influence our politics and politicians. Okay.
Which is happening.
Correct.
Yeah, it's easy to see.
So you're seeing the tracking of where we're going with this. As of just recently, this past Sunday, we were supposed to have negotiation talks again with Iran. They were supposed to sit down with Trump and do this whole thing and get a deal worked out so that, because we just had our inspectors in there about the nuclear program. Now, this is something I've learned researching this is you can have a nuclear program for energy, fuel, and efficiency, but you can't make nuclear weapons. There's two different things, okay? And I guess you can determine what's what based on how it looks, okay? the part that's a conspiracy is they're starting to think that the inspectors that went in were really finding where these scientists were. Okay. For information purposes. Because even though that peace treaty was supposed to go down on Sunday, it got Iran to lower their guard. And on Thursday, Israel bombed them.
Right.
Without any provocation.
I heard about that while I was in Galveston.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Israel started it right when peace treaties were supposed to go on. Their number one claim, if you turn on the news, whether it's Fox News or anything else, is that Israel has a right to defend itself.
Yeah, because they were saying that they were going to get bombed eventually.
How are you defending yourself when you're the aggressor?
Yeah.
That doesn't work that way. Sorry.
And it's not like you were, were they threatened?
I mean, no, the last time Iran has threatened anybody was 40 plus years ago.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I personally don't know the Iranians. I'm not going to say and defend them. But let me be clear before we continue this. I'm not on Iran's side either. I'm just impartial and looking at the evidence and understand that both entities could be evil and this shit sucks.
Just put a wall up and take all their women.
This is the problem, right? So
put them over here.
Yeah.
There'll be tons of guys who'd love to marry those women who will be, good traditional
could be
wives
and do the right thing. Hell yeah.
And then just let the men just deal with themselves behind a wall.
What questions do you have so far? Anything?
No, it's all tracking.
Okay. So we are currently in a state where these two have gone back and forth bombing each other. They've said plenty of things like if America gets involved, this is a direct quote from their military, you should prepare 50,000 caskets for your American troops because there's plenty of bases all over the Middle East there. We know as of today, I haven't seen obviously any updates recently because we've been doing this, but Russia is fully backing Iran.
Yeah, I know that. I heard that. Yeah.
They supposedly, according to Russian news articles, they have nuclear scientists in Iran already building 2 facilities. And they have not been asked for help yet from Iran, but if Iran does ask for it, they're going to get it.
And that's not surprising because when Putin did that interview with Tucker Carlson, all he talked about was how NATO screwed him when they disassembled Soviet Russia, the USSR, and ever since then, all he's wanted to do was to join NATO and be an ally, but they constantly put him in opposition.
Yeah.
So it makes complete sense that he's going to side with the Iranians who are going against NATO, essentially.
Yeah. So, God, here's a good point about it. Even though our media is portraying that Iran is screwed, and even President Trump is like, oh, we have compromised Iran's airspace and we have complete control over it and all that means nothing because I'm watching what's actually happening. And Israel is getting bombarded by missiles every single day, all day. Like their capital is gone. Their Mossad building, which is like the equivalent of their CIA, demolished, completely toned down, destroyed. And the reason being is we have now just unveiled over this last week, I think it was either Friday or Saturday night, Iran has missiles, hypersonic missiles, that America does not even have. The only countries that have those are China, Russia, and now Iran. And what these missiles do differently than the ones that are shooting into space, they'll go directly straight to the target at over Mach 5, which is the speed of light. And they can control where they're going mid-flight. So they're completely unpredictable. So if you hear about Israel's Iron Dome, which was their defense capability, it was designed to take out these missiles that were coming down because they could predict the trajectory. But since these missiles are moving straight and you can't predict the trajectory, it was almost useless. It shot down some of them, of course, here and there, right? But a lot of them got through. And they're very precise. So they can go right into, if they know where somebody is a scientist, both sides have lost tons of scientists. Both sides have casualties, well over 200 people, civilians included. As of the other night, there was like 10 million people fleeing the capital in Iran, which they were not getting very far. There's so much going on with it. It's kind of crazy because the point that we're at now is America going to get involved and save Israel's ass? They're like that little brother that's a criminal.
Yeah.
That just does whatever the hell they want and they're reckless and you have to go in and constantly keep saving them and keeps fucking you up. That's what they are to us. They literally provide zero value. We don't really need them as an ally.
No.
But because our politicians are so influenced by their people, we get voted into this shit automatically.
I genuinely think that the U.S. should take the stance that we took during World War II before the Japanese decided to involve us and just be like, oh, it's on your side of the world. Deal with it. We're not the only NATO country.
That's the problem, is because Pakistan is helping Iran now and they have nuclear capability. It's up for discussion, but conspiracy is that they helped hack the Iranians, Israel's Iron Domes, because some of their missiles were shooting up and back at them. China is backing Iran, and so is Russia. So we are possibly days to weeks away from World War III. And that's the problem, because America is probably the deciding factor. If they get involved, that we have to determine what's going to stop these other countries from getting more directly involved, because all of them are loosely involved. We're providing weapons and supplies. They're providing weapons and supplies, but nobody's directly involved with the troops right now.
Yeah. Well, it's like a Cold War. Yeah.
And if these missiles are a thing and we're literally going to go against the three nations that have them, we don't have defense capabilities to shoot them down. And they can shoot the missile from Iran to America within 18 minutes. It will be here.
So I'll say this.
Yes.
Not saying that information is incorrect, but
yes.
I have plenty of friends who are either active military or were active military, served their years of service, and then got out. No one is more advanced than the U.S. military.
That's what they say. But they didn't know that they had these. They just found out they had these 2 days ago.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
It won't take long for them to develop the technology to fight against it. I mean,
hopefully. I hope you're right.
I had a buddy who was in the Navy, and he would talk about how, all these nations get together to do these military exercises where they use lasers instead of like actually shooting each other down.
Yeah.
And it would be like Russia, China, plus one or two other countries against one naval fleet, U.S. naval fleet, and the U.S. naval fleet would have them all neutralized within like 4 hours. Like it's just, sure, there is a possibility they could have technology that we haven't seen yet, but now that we know, if that's the case and U.S. knows it exists, they're going to be working day and night until they can combat it and come up with something comparable or better, right?
If they haven't already, right? And just to preface that, if they do have this weapon, these missiles that we just found out about, who's to say we don't have a secret weapon that people don't know about, right?
And that was my next point.
By all means, I don't know what we have, right? I'm not a military expert when it comes to that kind of stuff. My personal concern is just for the troops and the people that would have to go to fight Israel's war for them. That's the problem.
Yeah, you won't get drafted anymore, but I can still get drafted.
No, I'm too old.
I can still get drafted.
My old ass. But yeah, I mean, and they're talking about that already too. Possibly putting in effect if this does happen.
Well, I mean, even though conscription is down, we still have, our military is still greater than it was the last time the draft was enacted in numbers.
Yeah.
If there is a conflict, it would have to go on significantly longer or be like 100 times worse than, like the Gulf War or all the conflict in Iraq was for them to enact the draft.
What I will say this has done for me personally in my own life is, as somebody who has watched left news, right news, all different things and major media outlets and tried to determine my own opinion on things, this has opened my eyes to how blinded even the right is. Because in the past, I would say, oh, well, the left is making 0 sense. It doesn't even equate to anything. And I'm like, oh, I kind of believe what the right is saying a little bit. This seems a little more rational. But now that you see the truth and how both sides are kind of compromised, and they just say whatever their political agenda is either way, it's absurd. It really is. It's like I can't trust anything about our government anymore. And that's the problem, is now this might be the first time in a very long time where both political parties are on the same team. Like, if we go to war, you might have lefts and rights out in the street protesting together about anti-war.
Well, that's why Trump was so heavily accepted, was because even though he ran as a Republican, he just did that so that the Republican people would listen to him, because he figured that
they
was
were more
his best
reasonable.
shot. Yeah. And that's because he acts as if, he doesn't take a side.
Right.
If he truly is compromised and kind of involved in this stuff, and it's the
other side of
that
this,
would be bad.
Those JFK files that released showed that Israel was all part of assassinating JFK.
Really?
And the reason is because JFK, when he was president, was putting policies in place so Israel could not build nukes back then. So they got rid of him and did it anyway, and then covered it up with the U.S. government's help. It's fucked. The whole thing has been fucked long before we were born.
I think I would be more concerned with nuclear winter more so than World War III.
And that was the other thing that I was talking to some people about, is like, if this happens, Russia, China, all these people get involved, they could also have very new capabilities of weapons. And if they get one of those missiles even exploding over New York, you know how many people are going to be affected?
Well, it's not just New York, right? They would hit hit all the major port cities.
Sure.
And we're close enough that we would be affected.
Yeah.
Heavily affected.
Yeah. I mean, as far as Iran's concerned, they literally said after Israel's gone, New York is next if this happens. So,
I mean, that would literally just cause someone to allow Trump to push the red button anyway.
Correct. They'll get it right back. And that's what I'm saying.
I'm talking about with that, if that's a threat and we get involved, that they're just going to go, look, they're going to shoot. We need to shoot first.
Shoot first, of course. And we're going to just pull Japan on them and nuke them before they get the chance to do anything.
Well, anyone in NATO isn't supposed to use nukes, even though we can have them.
They're supposed to be deterrents.
Yeah. I will say that apparently we do have the technology to shoot down. Our anti-air technology is apparently strong enough that we can shoot down nukes before they even get close to us.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be detected and shot down before they get close to us.
Right.
So it would probably have
I will say that's the benefit of being across the ocean.
Yeah.
Is we're not directly near these people where we have a longer period of time before these things arrive.
Yeah. What if they get Mexico involved? People will be wishing they built that wall now.
I'll tell you, if Mexico gets involved, they would be on our side because the president of Mexico is a J.
Oh, really?
The J woman is the current president of Mexico.
Interesting.
Yep. So the more you know about how they literally rule everything.
Yeah, but the Iranians could contact like the cartels, and the cartels already run the country.
That's true.
You can't convince me otherwise.
No, of course. They'd still do what they want for sure. I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like. I mean, I can still get drafted myself, but I'm more concerned with like nuclear fallout, because I mean that's just going to decimate the population. Which I mean, I'm not advocating for this, and this is going to sound really bad for me to say it, but maybe that's maybe society needs something crazy like that to kind of reset itself and get back on the right track, right?
We haven't had. I guess the last major war was with Iraq 20 years ago.
Well, yeah, but even that conflict wasn't as devastating as World War I or II.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
it's almost like we just provoke people into it, and then we say, "Oh, look, you're the bad guy."
Yeah, the winners get to determine who was in the wrong,
and that brings up a whole nother topic. But that's what they say about the Holocaust.
Yeah,
is that.
Well,
numbers are falsified, all sorts of things, and
I'm sure numbers are heavily falsified, but that's not to say that what Hitler was doing and what the Jews were doing wasn't wrong. I mean, there were Nazis who straight up attempted to assassinate Hitler on a consistent basis, on a regular basis after a certain point.
Let me give you the counter perspective. Have you ever heard of, if you had the ability of time travel, you would go back and kill baby Hitler? Have you heard that terminology or that theme?
Yeah, but I mean,
it's just an argument, right? For argument's sake, it's a thing, right?
Like when I was in
people
school,
say, let's get rid of the greater evil before we can get it done.
You're just opening up for the next person to step in.
What I was going to say is, if this conflict gets to the point where we're shooting nukes at each other, etc., millions of people are dying all over the world, would you go back and help Hitler win? Because then you stop the Jewish folk from getting all of this power all over the world. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, this is a cause and effect to the point.
That's a crazy take,
right?
I'm not saying you're wrong.
No, but I mean, just think about it. Like, if that was what he was trying to do, because he's seen what they were going to be able to be capable of in the West, is it a far-fetched idea? I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
I attribute, so history has a funny way of repeating itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was always taught, if you want to avoid repeating history, you have to study it and understand it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the fall of the Roman Empire, there's a lot of similarities. People become restless.
Mm-hmm.
Wars are provoked and started.
Yep.
And there's a lot of minor pieces that end up causing a domino effect that ultimately collapses causes the collapse of the Roman Empire, or leads to the collapse. I've heard a lot of people talk about how the collapse of the U.S. being just the major superpower of the world is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And just with the way things are, and if this conflict gets to that point, who's to say that doesn't happen?
It's possible. I mean, it's possible.
It'll get rid of feminism, right?
I mean, yeah, if China takes over,
you want to be equal? Get on the front line. It ain't gonna happen.
No. Yeah, we're just in a crazy time where I just don't know what's going to happen, and because of the access to the internet and everybody being able to show you the truth, we've never been in a war situation like this where people can actually see what's happening in real-time footage with 4K cameras and all sorts of shit. That it's crazy. It is crazy.
Maybe, so I'll say this. Apparently, a bunch of I didn't think anything of it really, other than people are just going away from the U.S. in general, as far as foreign countries go. But maybe this is all related and they knew shit like this was going to happen. But there are several, I can't name them off the top of my head at the moment, but there are several countries, and maybe more are joining, that are starting to replace the U.S. dollar as their reserve currency. So maybe they know something we don't, or they think that something's going to happen. And yeah, because I mean, if we get decimated and that's their reserve currency, then their country's gone too.
The other side of this, and this is also just speculation, is that they're saying that America has tapped a lot of its resources already, and that we don't have as much ammunition and etc. as we would like at this point.
Well, because they sent all effing Ukraine.
That's exactly right. I was going to say we've been sending it to Ukraine, and then we've been sending it to Israel for Gaza.
And why does Biden care? He's going to be dead before any of this freaking.
So that's just another take, is that we're just running low on military equipment.
I mean, the only thing that would happen is that there would be a huge push to convert manufacturing plants here into
tons of money.
Yeah, yeah. It would just
replacing millions and billions of dollars of fucking
billions of dollars.
Yeah.
It would. I mean, which is what happened during the last World War. I mean, it would happen.
It just has to. And you don't have the choice, really.
I hope it doesn't come to shooting nukes, especially, I mean, this may sound selfish, but especially because we would be...
I've got a ton of family in New York, so everybody's still there.
Well, I didn't even think about that, but
they're all there.
I'm thinking about us here.
Yeah.
We're close enough to a port city. We would be severely affected.
Yeah.
We would die from the after effects. The people who die in the initial shock, they get it easy. We would die from radiation poisoning,
which would be towards Mexico, terrible, trying to get out of there. I know,
terrible.
I know it.
And people who people who like look at Fallout and stuff like that, like that's not realistic.
No, we're not going to grow an extra arm and shoot laser beams from our butthole.
And it absolutely would not be. No condition would be even close to ideal, right? You would be even if you did find a way to survive, you would suffer. You would suffer.
So I'm not going to become Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Superhero Static Shock. Remember that show?
No.
It was like there's this thing they called the Big Bang, and it was some kind of like radiation. I'm going to call it radiation poisoning. They didn't call it radiation poisoning, but that's essentially what it was. It was like a chemical poisoning that started giving all these people superpowers. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was a kids WB show. It was pretty good.
Okay.
He was the first black superhero that I like actually knew about.
Didn't talk about this. Iran's closed down their strait, I guess it is, the riverway that goes through there, which closed down their trade ports and everything, which means oil gallons just went up to like over $100 a gallon. So expect gas prices to hit about $11 a tank soon.
Well,
a gallon.
So you say that. Here's the thing.
We'll see what happens.
The U.S. has tons of oil in reserve.
They do.
Tons.
Depending on what they decide to do.
Thousands of tons.
If they use it.
Even if we don't, fracking was approved for like around the U.S. and offshore, like in the Gulf and stuff.
Yeah.
I think we'd be able to easily enough replace it that it's not going to be terrible. Yeah.
Okay. Be interesting to see what happens. Yeah. Speaking of random, Myron's been doing his own show now. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like a political commentary show that he streams now almost every day.
Yeah, he went on Temple recently too.
Yeah, so I've been listening to him, and he gives you, as you know, the real breakdown of things. He doesn't mess around. He's very knowledgeable on all of it, and that's where you'll get your true information between him. And then there's a couple of Twitter spaces that you can get into where people who are all very knowledgeable kind of just share breaking news and information from all over. That's like what they're doing right now. So you can just go on one of those and just leave it on and listen to what they have to say. And they'll keep saying breaking news. This is this and this, missile hits here. They got a clip of footage of 7 seconds of this rocket landing somewhere, or, these people from all over. So it's been interesting to keep up with.
We are still labeling ourselves as a dating podcast. So I'll just kind of relate it back here.
Sure.
If this doesn't lead to, nuclear fallout or, U.S. civilians being targeted and blown to oblivion.
Sure.
I'm not saying it's good to have it happen, but even if that part does happen, right? If society can continue on as close to normal as possible, it might be good for society to experience real hardship and kind of understand that what actually is bad.
Yeah. That's true.
I love all these people who always say feminism doesn't work in wartime. So,
yeah.
Or in times of uncertainty. I think it's going to roll back a lot of the progress that these modern movements have made in society.
And you can say that's a conspiracy theory of its own with all the unrest that we've been having and things like that, right? Yeah. And Trump said he's going to unite the people. What if he unites the people just against himself? Against a war, against America in general, and what the politicians are doing. You see what I'm saying? Like, what if it's just a coup to overthrow the government?
I mean, I've mentioned before, not that I'm advocating for this, but
yeah, I'm just throwing ideas out there.
My dad and I have had discussions about this stuff and what it would take to reset. And I'm like, I mean, there could always be something that pushes us to some kind of French Revolution style event. Not that I'm advocating for that. I don't wish anyone to die.
Clearly ready to protest.
Yeah, I don't wish anyone to die. But like in a French Revolution style event, we could. I mean, like you said, it would be just a major coup of all the people in power. Which again, not advocating for anyone to get hurt or to die, but there definitely needs to be a shift in power back to communities rather than, like the 0.1% of people who are the figureheads of the country at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a weird time we're living in, and I don't know what it's going to look like in another 20 years because of all this. I mean, you have the outcome of Iran just getting obliterated at this point, and then we just move on as it's been. You know what I mean? Israel exists, America exists. They're still allies. People still kind of politically under control. We now take all their oil and resources and control the country.
So here's the thing.
If
they're being backed by Russia and China, Russia's been more blatant about it than China has.
Yes.
China's always kind of been like, oh, well, you'll just have to wait and see what happens if
Correct.
you do that, right?
Yeah.
Russia has already said, like, or at least Putin has said before, like, I'm not above nuclear fallout. If you want to shoot missiles, we will shoot them too. Like, this isn't going to be a one-sided thing. You're not going to use that to intimidate us.
I haven't heard anything from like North Korea yet. They've been pretty quiet.
They're dealing with their own turmoil.
Yeah.
But no, so
the only country in the Middle East that has nukes, at least that we know of for sure, is Israel.
Well, here's the thing. It is against NATO policy to shoot nukes, right? Someone has to shoot first. Now that could change. Someone could go rogue. I don't see it being the U.S. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. I mean, if Israel is shooting missiles unprovoked, completely unprovoked, then NATO definitely should either step aside and be like, you're in this on your own, or they have to essentially step in and kind of tear apart the structure that is ruling Israel so that they can have, sign a peace deal and say, hey, they're going to pay X amount of money and reparations over the next, 2-3 decades, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And then Iran has to be okay with that. But at the same time, we're
living
talking about this out loud.
An age of misinformation. That's one thing I really didn't tell you either. Is like, so Trump in our politics is still saying that Iran's ready to come to the table to make a deal. When you look at Iranian media and they're just like, if America gets involved, we're killing you all. Like, that's not saying the same thing. And then
going to try.
And then Russia's saying its own thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we're in Iran already and we're ready to help and blah, blah, blah. Like, everybody's got their own.
Which is,
and Israel's like, yeah, we're winning. This is great. But you look at all the videos and photos and they're destroyed.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that I want to get too much into this, but like, I mean, that's pretty bold and arrogant of Iran to say that, I mean, sure, they may be able to hit a city, but
they'll attack all the bases that are in the Middle East. That's the problem.
I mean, sure, but then they're going to get bombed into oblivion, and I mean, it'll be just like it was in Iraq. As long as the U.S. didn't intend to hit civilians. Well,
we have currently 80,000 American soldiers in the Middle East.
Which would be devastating. Bases. Yeah, that would be absolutely devastating.
So, mutual friend Tara has one of her best friends over there right now. Like a girl that she grew up with or whatever is over there. She's a Marine. So she's been texting her back and forth. They're on lockdown. They're not allowed to leave and go anywhere. All non-essential family members have already left and fled. So it's getting there. They can't leave the base. They can't do anything right now. It's code red time for them.
Yeah, my uncle, he's been retired, but they summoned him back. Well, I mean, it's optional, right? He's an engineer for like submarines and nautical machinery and stuff like that. So he's apparently been going back and working again on a contractual basis for a while now. So
I'm ready for some radioactive booty. I don't know about you. Try to bring this back on a lighter note.
I mean, I can tell you this much, man. Yeah, nuclear. I've listened to several scientists talk about what happens with nuclear fallout.
Yeah, it's not good.
If you better hope the initial blast takes you out.
Oh,
if
yeah.
it doesn't, you're going to suffer an insanely painful death. And if you don't happen to die in that first or second wave, it might end up being like Mad Max style, where cannibals.
Oh yeah, the area that gets bombed is going to be screwed for like 100 years. It's just going to be radioactive and torched. Nobody's going to be able to survive there. So it's not good all around. I don't think there's a whole lot of people that can even imagine a world where an actual part of America is like that in our civil society. Like, this goes back a couple of weeks when we talked about physically being able to defend yourself, and you're going to be more protected if I'm around versus not around. And I had that conversation. I brought it back up with the person, and I was like, listen, this is exactly what I was talking about. Because at the end of the day, if things got crazy, let's just say it got real crazy, and there were enemy soldiers in the country, would you want me around?
You better get a gun.
You'd probably want me around.
You need to get a gun.
Yeah, I do.
You need to get a few.
Yeah, I know. Well, my mom's got tons. Byron's got a lot. But yeah.
I'm locked and loaded.
Yeah. So crazy, right? I mean, but this goes to show, without the protection of a civilized economy and citizenship around you, and things start to go off, all of these women that we've talked about and their feminist ideas, like you just said,
they go out the window.
They're gone.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. What do you mean my new Chanel bag is not going to protect me? Well, no. You know?
Yeah, they're going to need, they live in a society where all these liberties are taken for granted, and once we enter a major war like that, it's all of those liberties go out the window. You're back in the real world.
Right. I mean, that's the least of what our concern should be, but that's kind of what the podcast is about. So we have to bring it up, right? So it's kind of one of those things where if you post the wrong clip, they're going to be like, you're worried about the wrong thing. You know what I mean? I know it's coming. The hate's coming. Yeah. It's always going to come. It never stops.
Shadow ban still.
Hopefully not. I did hear from somebody who's big on media saying that they have a team that makes clips for them, and they pay that team like some astronomical amount, like almost $20,000 to $30,000 a month, that makes the clips. Now we do it ourselves and do it a little differently. Obviously, we're not going to shell out $10,000 a month to make clips, but this person was pretty adamant about that's how you grow your channel and your business, about a shit ton of clips. It's the only way to do it. So it was interesting because I'm starting to see that from when we started till now, just by doing it ourselves and experience.
All of our growth is from clips, from shorts.
Yeah, and I didn't expect that when we first started. Like, there's no guideline. Like, everybody tells you there's a guideline, but nobody has the actual formula.
Yeah.
You ever notice that? Like, if you research how to build your channel, everybody gives you the fucking runaround and bullshit you.
It's well hidden and coveted by the people who know how to do it.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm learning from experience, and then now that I heard that, it reinforces the idea of like, no, that is the way. You have to do it by clips, and you have to generate attention enough to people to track the main page and the main episodes, because that comes after, for sure. Yeah. So the problem is, if our clips aren't getting shown, we're kind of at a stalemate here. So
didn't even do anything wrong.
No, just speaking an opinion. But apparently, you can't have an opinion in America anymore.
And not even a bad opinion. You know, we're talking about, you can call it opinion all you want, but whenever we talk about things that track logically, how much of it is actually opinion, right?
Yeah. And I guess to end the war thing, my final, stance is I don't know what I want to happen at this point, because on one side, I can see the fuckery of Israel, the genocide in Gaza's that they're doing, and now possibly another genocide in Iran.
Yeah, it's like a lose-lose situation.
It's a lose-lose. But then at the other side, if Iran wins and they're telling the truth and they just hate America, I don't want to put our people in danger either, or my family and friends and everything else. So it's kind of like a morals versus your own protection.
Yeah. Which
side is the more important? Do you follow your morals or do you follow your safety?
Well, exactly. Right? Well, it's like I mentioned earlier, all those ideas go out the window when we're in wartime, right?
Yeah.
And it comes down to survival of the fittest. Your morals mean absolutely nothing when someone's putting a gun in your face, right?
That's true.
Or pointing a nuke at you.
It just doesn't matter anymore. You have to do what you have to do to defend yourself.
It's who gets who first.
And I think that's kind of where we're at. And I think that's the stance of America, is these guys are enemies now, and we're just going to have to do what we have to do.
I agree, though. I genuinely don't think that Israel should be glorified or justified in having the U.S. step in and handle this for them. Mm-hmm. But if Russia and China are getting behind them, and the consequences of Israel losing that is more aggression from Iran, I don't think
lose control of the Middle East, really.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that. It's going to cause more conflicts across the world
That too.
And more people are going to look to the U.S. to deal with it, despite, in the last 2 decades or so, or 3 decades even, insisting that the U.S. mind their own business, right? Well, make up your mind. I don't see China or Russia being a part of aggression, but they would definitely use directly involved. But they would use Iran and other smaller countries that they could radicalize to do it. And we would just enter another Cold War era.
And that could be a different perspective. How much of it is, do you think the larger powers are using these smaller Middle Eastern countries to fight a proxy war for them? You know what I mean?
Russia's been doing it for decades.
Right. But the problem is with the evidence, it almost feels like it's the other way around for us in Israel. They're using us to get their agendas across. And that's the problem, is why are we bowing to this insignificant little country that's not providing anything and can't even defend themselves against Iran by themselves, because they're getting destroyed right now.
It's not even that. They have a history of violence.
Yeah, of course.
Unprovoked.
And they don't talk about it. If you turn on the news tomorrow morning, you're just going to hear the same rhetoric. It's all the people that are on there are all programmed to say the same thing. Israel has the right to defend itself, and we have to protect from nuclear invasions and the hatred of America and Israel and anti-Semites. And it's the same rhetoric over and over when they're the ones that provoked this to begin with. When there was a peace treaty in play 3 days later.
And it's BS to me that they talk about, the U.S. being invaded or whatever. People can bomb us. They can't invade us. I've listened to military strategists, experts talk about this.
It'd be very difficult.
They would
have to bomb us badly first, to the point where we couldn't react if they were getting to our shores.
Essentially, what they all pretty much agree with is that they would have to bomb us into oblivion and make it so that no one wants to be here.
Right.
The odds of actually being able to invade us successfully, each step to taking over the country, is like a 1 in 100,000 plus chance of actually happening.
And it would take years.
Just to take
generations, almost probably.
Just to take the western coast alone, because that's where they think they would invade from. Just to take the western coast alone,
they're all soy boys over there.
It would take years. Fine. Well, yeah, but the military isn't. The military,
I guess.
It would that alone would take like over a year to do, and then it would take them years to creep into the Midwest, and then beyond that.
Right.
Because they're going to run into mountains. And they're hitting the section of the country where most of the guns by civilians are held too.
Side note, WWE is supposed to have one of their pay-per-view events in Saudi Arabia next month.
That ain't happening.
So I'm curious where they pivot and how they do this. Yeah, with all that's going on.
That's not happening.
They're still promoting it like it's going on. I was like, boy.
Because I don't think even though the UFC signed that deal with the Saudis, I don't think they've had any fights there recently.
No. Yeah.
Or they've had like one fight and then a bomb got dropped and then there hasn't been any since.
That makes sense. So that's curious, and I'm be interested to see what they do.
Can you imagine?
Saudis.
Well, you won't get drafted, but God, imagine if I get drafted and they decide to put me on the front lines instead of using me for my brain, right? Putting me somewhere on the analytical
I'll make sure
side.
I get enough radioactive booty for the both of us while everybody's gone.
And then
there are no men in these clubs anymore.
I know, right? Yeah. I end up on the front lines, and we do the thing like in what's that movie called? It's like the Gentleman Club or something. It's like it's like crap. What's that movie called? Kingsman.
Okay, the British
the first Kingsman.
Okay, I never seen it, but I know of it.
Okay, so like there's this part in World War I where they're crawling across the trenches to try to take out the German opposition, essentially.
Yeah.
Or whatever that side, whoever's all on that side. And they meet in this, their guys had the same idea. So they meet in this trench and they're like, we can't use, like, they all look at each other and they're like this. They put their guns away and pull out knives and shit. Because if anyone on the other side hears them, they're going to start shooting, right? And throwing
kill everybody.
Everybody's dead, right?
Yeah.
So they all start fighting. Can you imagine if you see like Merab Dvalishvili or like,
oh yeah, the UFC guys on the
you're just like, I'm fucked. I'm gonna die.
gonna take my chances with this gun.
Yeah. And you're like, I'm just dead.
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
That's a good point.
That's another thing, brother. They've been, and they're all like loyal to Russia, but they for generations now, 3 or 4 generations, they have been training like day in and day out. Like people talk about, DC was talking about sending his kids over there, and a few other fighters have gone over there to train and stuff, and they're like, they eat, sleep, and breathe training. Wrestling and combat sports.
Right.
Like it's not just, oh, you go for,
after school program
1 to 2 hours a day. It's like you get up in the morning, you do it, you eat, you go back, you eat, you go back.
Right. And different animal.
Yeah, and they have been training. Of course, everything's technological now anyway. You can't fist fight a bomb, but
right. That's a lot of it too. Is at the end of the day, no matter what skill, bomb drops, you're gone. Fried anyway. Yeah. So, yeah, man, it's crazy. I definitely say look into it a little more. Maybe we'll talk about where the current status is next week, because that seems to be the hottest topic in everything right now. And if we talk about that, we'll either get banned or we'll generate a lot of clips, views. So it might be something to look into. Thought for you, and we might as well just talk about it on air while we're here, because we're just killing some time at this point. But since the name of the show is Speak Like the Boss, it doesn't necessarily wrap us into just dating. Do we pivot the show into just talking about anything that we feel like we want to talk about, but confidently, when it pertains to just media in general of what's going on? And if we can relate it back to dating, we'll still have small dating segments, but it seems like it's a redundant point to keep harping on the same dating segments if we can't actively keep getting guests that are women. Mm-hmm. Or, you know what I mean? Because that's the only way that show continues, is if there's somebody new to influence or convert, right?
Yeah.
Without that, we're just kind of agreeing with each other and beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
So I need somebody who is on the opposite perspective. So I'm not saying we don't have that kind of an episode once in a while if we can get guests, but it just seems like week by week we should just figure out different topics to talk about of whatever's going on and see if we can generate views that way. And then once the channel grows, then you can always have segments that are about dating so that people can tune into what they're interested in.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Just a thought of where we're going with it, because this is episode 18. So we're 18 weeks in. And I mean, although we've seen growth, I wouldn't say it's exponential. You know what I mean? To the point where we're like getting known or something. So, you know what I mean? Like I just got a text. Let me see if I can read it to you. Somebody, one of our people sent it to somebody they know, the clip of what our bonus episode here. And I don't know who he sent it to, but I can only assume it's a female. Sent them the clip. They responded with interesting. They said, this gentleman here is big shit now. The person said, no, he's not. He said, the guy said he's famous. She says, no, it only has like 2 likes, and that topic they are talking about is bullshit, and he doesn't even speak.
So you're saying somebody to be like, oh, I'm on a podcast?
Something like that. Well, the other person was sending it, right? And then they're saying, the girl says, I'm sorry, but that topic is so stupid because women can be the mostly faithful and loyal person ever, and the man still cheats and lies. So it really is double-sided. So clearly she's speaking from a female perspective rhetoric of females can do no wrong and innocent,
Yeah, which is complete and utter bullshit.
But with that response, I would challenge them to come on and have that debate with me. And I'm going to try to find out who that person is from him and see if I can make that happen. Yeah. But because of that message that I just received this morning, it shows me that what I took out of it was that because we don't have a large viewer base, like base, comment base, things like that, our message is getting
filtered out,
or just it's people don't think that they need to take it seriously, or that it's unimportant, or it's not real and it's just an opinion, versus traction behind it because it doesn't have enough of a following. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I think until we can have that following, people will take the dating advice more seriously. Does that make sense too? So it's this weird go around where if you don't have anybody paying attention to you, what are you really teaching? Kind of thing. And they don't know what, from my own personal experience or what I've done in the past or anything like that. They're just seeing a random guy on the internet telling them that they're fucking up their lives.
Yeah, which is easy for them to be like, well, what does he know?
What is he? Yeah. And like we've got those comments. Well, I learned from my mom. Well, great. Your mom don't know shit either.
Yeah, that's straight up.
Sorry to tell you, but
she doesn't.
What it is.
And then they want to argue what anecdotal means.
Well,
like
I'd listen to my mom over you. I don't even know who you are. Okay, well then just keep fucking up your life. I don't know what to tell you.
No one cares.
Yeah, no one cares. I don't care about you.
This isn't for you.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, definitely something to think about.
Because I don't want it to just go to the point of this is the end of our growth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want it to be for nothing because we've put a lot of work and effort so far. And I think we are on the right track if they can stop blocking us. You know what I mean? I can even take a look at it real quick before we exit the show. But let's see if it's still going, the new video that I just posted here. Yeah, it's going again. 207. So it's going more than it was the last couple of days. YouTube kind of dropped off. They heard me say the J word.
That's probably what it was.
They're like, oh.
But I mean, if you're not using it in a derogatory term, it's not against TOS. So
yeah, it just is what it is.
You're not going, oh, yeah,
that was one thing we didn't talk about. They are the only religion in the world that's an ethno religion.
Yes, actually.
They're an ethnicity and a religion, and you can join the religion, but you can never join the ethnicity.
Well, there are. It's hard to say that, right? Because there are thousands of different little African tribes who all have their own like religious practices and stuff.
I could start my own tomorrow and say nobody else could be in it too. Right. But
yeah, the Church of Dragon Ball.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but yeah, large scale at least. Yeah, they're the only ones.
Yeah, yeah. So it's an interesting. It's like an exclusive cult that no one can be a part of.
I mean, you say that the Muslims are kind of like that. Like, yes, you can join. Yes, you can convert, but there's like a term for it. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but like
I see what you're saying.
You're a Muslim in faith, but you're not like a real Muslim.
You're like the gaijin in Japan.
Yes.
Right. I gotcha.
They'll grant you citizenship, but that's about it.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. You have anything else before we head out?
No, I'm good.
All right. For everybody else, if you see this, like, subscribe, comment, help us fix this algorithm that's broken.
Tell me I'm bald again.
Tell him he's bald. Focus on how we're just two mid men that are talking about things that you don't care about. Tell us how your mom's smarter than everybody else around you. What else?
Try to gaslight me and then tell me I'm gaslighting you when I call you out for it. There you go.
Yeah, check out the Patreon again, just in case. It's free right now. Just jump on there, see if we get some traction on that, and then I'll start posting on there more often and get some bonus content that you don't get anywhere else. That's it.
Step in the room, I set the vibe. Mic in my hand, I let it ride. Words so sharp, they cut the air. Confidence dripping heavy, I don't care. Speak like the boss on every